Hey, how's it going, guys? How's everybody doing today? Can you guys hear me okay? We'll get started in a couple minutes. Just want to make sure everybody's good. Hope everybody's doing good. Kurt, how's it going? Good morning. All right, let's get started. Thanks for joining, guys. Appreciate it. Hopefully the music is not too loud. You guys let me know. Let's do some housekeeping stuff and send you some links to my work in case you guys don't know who I am or any of that stuff. So that's the kind of work I do. I post a link. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Where you guys tuning in from? Hey, what up? So let me share my screen and we can get started. South Africa, awesome. Redlands, hey, that's close to me. It's not too far. Let's see. Let's share my screen. How about now? Can you guys hear me? Thanks for letting me know that it was muted. I was talking for the last 2 minutes and you guys couldn't hear anything. Sorry about that. But you guys can hear me now, right? I was just mentioning collecting some reference for the character we're going to be working on today, which is this guy. We started him. This is kind of where we were at. I think 2 streams ago or a stream ago. He was made in ZBrush Core, so that's why you see the topology is very different. I couldn't mask. I couldn't do a lot of the usual things that I would do, but we managed to get this far with this guy. And I kind of like where he's going, but we're going to clean him up a little bit. So that's kind of what I've been doing here with this other version. Kind of cleaning him up, you know. So let me move him to the side so you guys can see. That's kind of what he was. I'm kind of just refining all the shapes. Cleaning up kind of, you know, like stuff that I didn't like how chunky it got or low res. So we'll be continuing on that. Also, thanks for confirming, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know that it was muted. It was working on the preview, but then it stopped working when I shared it. It always happens. Something always breaks. Not a big deal. So we'll continue working on this guy. One thing I wanted to do is kind of start blocking out his legs a little bit, figuring out what kind of legs he's gonna have. So that's kind of what this is all about. You know, blocking out his little butt and stuff. You know, since we were able to block this stuff out, but not to the point where I liked it, so we're gonna continue on that stuff today, and then maybe add some face detail on hands and that type of deal. Some of the references that I was looking at that I kind of would like to use for him is, you know, the skinny person, and some mole rats, more, or moles. I mean, like this is the type of skin detail I want to add to him, and you know, make him kind of loose skin. Like he was very heavy at one point and lost tons of weight. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. So you know, we're just continue. Sorry about that. Just kind of getting back in gear. But yeah, how's everybody doing? How's everybody, where's everybody tuning in from? So let's work on this and block it out while I see where you guys are tuning in from. But I like the proportions. I gave him a little bit more of a hunchback. He didn't have one before. He was more flat, so I'm kind of giving him a little bit of a hunchback, so he feels like he's, you know, he has some handicaps to him that limit his movement. We'll work on that stuff today. So we're just kind of thinking about design and what, you know, what's going to make him look creepy but yet functional. And what is his mission? You know, like I want his shoulders to be more forward. So let's see. Let's change the selection. But if you guys have any questions, let me know. So I'm thinking he's very kind of hunched over, and like his arms are very forward, like they're very squished together. So that's kind of what I'm trying to adjust here. Like making his shoulders kind of turn in a little more than what he had. Yeah, we're gonna get sketchy, and then we'll refine some of these things. Let's see, I have a question. Yeah. So for now, I'm keeping everything separate because I want to be able to get in the armpits, and like right now, since I move those shoulders forward, I want to be able to just kind of manipulate. Now I can move the arms forward to, you know. I want to be able to manipulate the arms and shift them forward, kind of like this, right? Like, and it's much easier for me. But at the end, yes, everything will be fused together, like dynamesh together, and then from there we topologize and all that. Yeah, I consider a bit of the story, but sometimes I'll see an image that inspires me. In this case, I think I was watching Hellboy, the first one, or was it the second one? One of those two movies. And I got inspired by, you know, the creatures there. And I was like, well, what if I made something that belonged in that marketplace where all the other creatures are at? Like, they're hanging out, or he's shopping, or he's collecting his daily food, like collecting worms or something, you know? So I'm considering that, but I'm also thinking of cool things that I like. You know, like I wanted this guy to kind of be blind, so I want to experiment with his eyes, kind of where his eyes are kind of hidden because he doesn't need them for some reason, you know. But I'm also, some of it was like part of the concept of I guess just trying the workflow for the ZBrush core and seeing how that works out for the first time. So it's a little bit of both, and then from there I start informing the design a little bit more as well. Okay, so we see that the arms have some kind of extra geometry here or something. Let's see, where's that coming from? See, like that is trash. So that tool should be deleted. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And then from there I start expanding forward, you know, like start figuring out like what makes sense, what doesn't. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Like, what would be cool? What would be, you know, what can I keep sketchy? I really want that pelvic bone to show. Well, one thing that I was thinking is like he feels like he should feel like you know, like he lost a lot of weight, so his skeleton is showing, but also his fat and his leftover skin is showing. So that's kind of what I'm inspired by now. So that's kind of what I want to implement. Yeah, it's chingon, no? Yeah, I know what you mean. That's why I'm doing this, because he inspires me as well. But the power of this too, you know, you could mask a lot of this stuff. But one thing that's cool is that let me change this to smaller. Is that I could just hide those pieces. You see, now I could adjust the legs again if I needed to. Maybe a little higher waisted, you know. But one thing that I wanted to do too, and this is going to be a little tricky, but I think might as well just do it, is he may be facing more down. But this could also be done in a pose later, so I'm trying to figure out that balance out, because he has kind of weird proportions, you know. So maybe for now, maybe we'll just do. We'll just keep on like this for now, and then we'll pose them later. Hey, how's it going, Walter? Yeah, I have a rough vision of the end design, but it's just very, very raw right now. Like it could evolve to be anything, and that's part of this whole ZBrush life, right? That we're creating something, but sometimes it works, sometimes you try things and it doesn't work, and it's okay. You just get rid of it. Yeah, fly human alien, right? Yeah. But right now I'm just kind of wanting to just, you know, get the ball rolling and keep it simple and not go too crazy, you know. Like, we're going to see what he looks like with longer legs. We're going to see what he looks like with his hands. So we'll just block out simple shapes, and then we'll work on the face. That way at least we're continuing to work on the overall picture of this whole guy. You know, and then we'll pose him to be kind of more hunchback and heavier on top, and like, how does he balance his legs, you know? Like, he has to be hunched over a lot, so his stomach is hanging out. And that's kind of what I'm trying to implement here. But we'll let's do that and then see where it goes. So we want his hands to be long. Maybe he has like 3 fingers and 1 long thumb. You know, we'll see. We'll see where he goes. But let's. That's kind of the reference, you know. Maybe he has like Pillman. Like I got this little image. Maybe he has some Pillman legs. So we'll see. We'll see where he goes. But let's continue to sketch. Let me just find some. All right, so that's his hand. Let's get to this. Give him a little more volume. Let's also Dynamesh that guy. So I like keeping everything separate for as long as possible, and then we'll fuse it, you know. So I always look at the wireframe to see how dense it is, because as you saw, it was starting to get a little dense, and we'll just kind of sketch some thumbs and that type of stuff. And then you can use something like Snake Hook to help pull some of that stuff out quicker. But right now I'm just trying to figure out like his thumb location and also his thumbs, you know, or his knuckles. Yeah, we'll give him 3 fingers so he's, you know, he's not a normal creature. One thing we're going to remember is like we have to probably make his arm a little thicker. Like we're going to make his wrist a little smaller, but... And the nice thing about this is if I wanted to change the size, like there we go, just adjust the size a little bit. It was too big. You can also mirror it, so that way we can work in both sides and see what's going on. Let me see if you have any questions. Let's see. Yeah, your hand had 6 fingers. Yeah, in the beginning, it's for me. I like it to have it each piece be a little separate, and then we could combine them all together. That way, in case you change your mind later on, like before you commit to the full design, we could still change the legs, we could change the hands, or you can always do it later. Like, you know, I started with this, and then I cut it up. So you can always start with something like this and then chop it up as you're going. If you need to concentrate on one specific area, you know, like there was things I like about this, so that's why I kind of kept it. But it's more for like my own reference type of deal. That way, if I see that the arms are too long, I can always just shrink them down, and then move the hands up, you know, or repose the hands too to different poses. Oh, let's see. Oh, I need to watch that Castlevania. I haven't seen that in a while. I gotta check that out. So I'm just trying to find some reference to show you guys. Well, some of the reference that I was looking at is some of this stuff too. You know, kind of looking at real skinny people, which is a little bit disturbing for some people to watch or see. Not so much for me, but it helps me kind of with creature reference. So I think it's a definitely good way to, you know, look up some reference that might help you. Hey, how's it going, DD Drips? Let's continue with the hand before we lose track. But yeah, you can see block everything else real simple, nothing too crazy. Let's see, but I really missed the masking tool when I was working on the other version of ZBrush. That was one of my main things that I was like. So I'm looking at the arch of the, you know, your fingers aren't just perfectly straight. So I'm looking at the arches, trying to add some of that in the posture. Yeah, what's your question, Francisco? Well, there's many places you can find good reference now. ArtStation has a lot of good packs you can buy for different poses, like superhero poses or just poses. I would recommend that. I think that's a pretty good one. So sometimes what I'll do, just to save myself some time, I'll sketch out one finger and then I'll duplicate it out. So maybe we can look at that workflow. So let's see. So I'll pull one finger out. Let's inflate it a little bit and then yank them out. You know, and I'm thinking about the overall pose. You know, it's like real skinny. And then we could probably dynamesh this part again too. One thing you could do is invert and group mask. So in that way it has a different poly group. That way we dynamesh it. You know, we can just isolate that and keep pulling just that part. But remember, we're just sketching, guys, so it's not a deal breaker if something doesn't quite look right, you know, because it could look right later. So here we're just dynameshing again. I'm gonna give it a little more volume. You know, like let me mask so you can see kind of what I'm thinking about. Here's the different links of your hand. You know, look at your hand for this stuff. Magic poser, yeah. Yeah, I tend to collect a lot of different references, so sometimes I'll have stuff just for hands, different creature hands. But when I'm starting the sketches, I'll tend to just kind of wing it, and then from then go back and kind of correct some of the stuff if I see something that was like totally off. But here I'm just kind of just sketching away, you know, just give them some knuckles. So we'll mask some of this stuff. We'll maybe sketch out a nail as well, just to so we know, so we see a hint of, you know, and then from there we could adjust base anatomy wise, and you know, maybe they're a little skinnier. And then if you smooth it, they kind of blend together, and then let's do a little nail. And sometimes you need a little more resolution, so that's when we can so that just gives me the idea of like, okay, that's a finger, right? And then we could sketch out some, maybe it's a real skinny finger, like a witch's finger. Dynamesh this thing. So at this point, if it's getting too low, then I can go to, let's say, 128. So I always move stuff in increments, because if you start going to like 256 or 512, you're gonna get some crazy amount of resolution that's not needed. So here we go. So now that we have one finger out, we can, what I tend to do is duplicate this piece, mask out what you need right now. So right now we need it maybe up to the knuckle, right? I select it, really hidden. So now we have this finger. Let's go, where's the finger? Right here. Oh. Not here. So now we have this finger we can mess with. So it was just a duplicate of the sketch we did. Yeah, it's just like, we just want to look at the basic form right now. We're not looking at any details. That way we can determine we want the links of the fingers to be longer, shorter, the hands too big, too short, too whatever, you know, and then we can still adjust this. So let's say we want to get rid of this stuff, right? And right now still not a cap hole, not a big deal. Invert the mask, hide that piece, and we don't care, delete. So then what we could do is dynamesh it, and now that puts the rest of that finger that was missing in there, right? We could just get rid of these hard edges, and we can start moving this guy around. So if you have one trick that I like to do is if you press Alt and click on the face, see how it moves the pivot to that? So I want the pivot to be at that joint. So now I can easily move it a little better, give it a little rotation. You know, move it to kind of where he's supposed to be. Maybe this guy has a little bit more of a curl, so that when we see it from different angles, you know, like your hand's never like perfectly straight, right? So you kind of want to do a little relax. So I'm kind of just doing that, you know, make sure the knuckles are sticking out. Give you a little bit of, you know, you can move each link individually, but right now since we're just blocking out, just move the whole finger as one. So you can see how that starts to kind of give it a little bit more life, right? Because now it's not just like a flat hand that looks so stiff. Now we can play around with some, you know, like right now I see that the fingers look too small, but not a big deal. We could just adjust that. And we could even cut the original finger off and then have more control over that. That way you have like a little, like those, there's like these wooden figures that I used to have in art school that you could repose. I see it that way. I used to also have these other little figures, these guys, that I would highly recommend you get too. These are pretty good for, I think they're from Figma. I have the male and the female. And these guys, you know, you kind of pose them. So I'm thinking of this process kind of like this. Like it's like a chopped up figure that's attached. So you can move the limbs around. Maybe the transitions don't look correct from pose to pose, but you could then just merge it together and bridge it and fix it with some reference. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. We're just moving stuff around and kind of looking at it. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. Let's see. Let me put some more links. I think somebody was asking about the links. I'll just post. I'll post my Gumroad. So if you guys like my interface, you guys can feel free to grab it there, and I'll grab my Linktree one as well. Yeah, that has all the links, so feel free to just grab that one. But yeah, let's continue on that. So right now the fingers feel too small, not a big deal. So let's maybe scale those guys up a little bit. And again, we'll probably want to scale them from the tip. We can also reset the transforms here and then make the finger longer. And then we can also do, you know, since everything's not merged, we can still spread it out a little bit. See it from that side. Now we can duplicate that guy again and place him as our third one. Since the pinkies are always a little smaller, we can just shift that. And then give that guy a little curl too. And do a little bit of a, you know, your fingers are a little spread out, so you could do that too. Yeah, I know what you mean. I was a big fan of the Wizard magazine too, man. I used to have all the issues, and I used to cut out all the trips and tips. Like, I used to have a folder just full of those things to like help me, you know, figure this out. Because I wanted to be a comic book artist when I got started, and obviously that didn't go anywhere. But I did get to work on comic book movies, so that was, I guess it was a bit of a little trade, right? Yeah, I still remember one of my first movies that I got to work on. That was kind of a dream come true. Was 300. That was amazing to work on that. That and Fantastic Four, the first one. It wasn't an amazing movie, but it was a fun one. It was a comic with the Silver Surfer, so it was cool. And then from there, the list just grew of films with comics. And the last one I worked on that was a really cool movie was Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War. That was a fun one too. So let's see. So let's give this guy a little more meat here. Your thumb is pretty meaty. I was working in the industry. I work in tech now, so it's a little different. I work for NVIDIA. Before I used to work for different studios like Digital Domain, Method Studios, Hydraulics, and all these the mill, different places. But I now changed. I'm still working on really cool stuff that I'll hopefully be able to share with you in the near future. But if you look at what NVIDIA is working on, that's what I'm. That's kind of what I'm working on. And my title there is a character. Let's see. Sorry, I saw a form and I wanna tweak it. So one thing you can do too. So now that we have the hand and everything's separate, in order to make this kind of work as a hand and you can move it around and put it somewhere else. So what I'll do is, like, this is the palm, the fingers, right? So what I want to do is merge them. So if you go to merge down, it's going to ask you to confirm. And when you can do that, and then it won't ask you anymore. But one thing I want to do, since I still want control over this, for, you know, since this is still the early stages, you can see that there's still different polygroups, right? So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I put groups. So that way, if I were to dynamesh it by accident or dynamesh it to get more resolution, then from there, I'm able to keep them all separate without having to split them up again, if that makes any sense. So like if you look at now, if you look at the wireframe, see how all this stuff is split? If I were to run dynamesh again, see it's still together, it's still separate. But one thing I might want to do is keep these other pieces with it too. So let's just do that real quick. So let's make this all one poly group. So you could do group visible, right? And then go to the next one. Take that guy's piece. Well, let's take this guy away. And let's see, take that guy away. Oh, I guess these guys, since they came from the same group, they have the same poly groups. Not a big deal. So let's split this guy off. Let's just mask him real quick. Group mask this. See, so that way they're still separate. So you can use something like move topological, right, which is one of my favorites. And you can move the whole thing, still a separate piece, but you can still get resolution. Or you could just go in here and select that guy and move him around. But now, let's undo that. If we wanted to move the entire hand and we unmask everything, sorry, let me zoom out. You can move the whole hand. So you get multiple controls, right? It's just like a dummy, like you're just making the overall group the hand, and then from there you're splitting the fingers, but still keeping them separate if you wanted to. Hold on, let's see. Now we have some messages. Yeah, man. Let's see what type of work. What type of work did I do? I was a character supervisor in films, so like all these films, I was working on just characters and making sure if there was multiple characters, supervise those as well, make sure they have the highest quality possible. They follow the right topology, the right pipeline for the next stages of the pipeline or the studio. Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, there's different ways. That's the nice thing about the ZBrush and all these workflows is that there's not one way. You could, if something doesn't work for you, try something else. You know, I used to extrude, mask things out, and have them all together. But for me, this works, so I kind of stick to it. And then from there, I merge it at the end, and you know, it's all good. See, like now he looks more complete, right? He has some hands. He has some cool stuff going on. Oh, let's turn those guys back on. And then from there, maybe we could start tweaking the elbows and having the elbows be more kind of like doing some creepy stuff. Let's see. No, I do everything. They say well, one of the first films that I worked on, or you know, back in the days, like 2003 or 5 or something like that. I don't quite remember the time. It's been 15, 20 years. Like I worked on the first Avengers movie, and that one we didn't get to do too many characters, but we got to do a lot of environments. So I was doing a lot of kind of more architectural type of stuff, cars, vehicles, buildings, that type of stuff. And then from there, I kind of transition over. But I've been doing both for the longest time, so I can do both. I think it's important to be adaptable and be able to do all this stuff, like, because sometimes you never know if it's like a half robot, half human, or whatever it may be. So I will say don't lock yourself down to anything if possible. But everybody has their journey. Everybody has to go through their. I'm just sharing a little bit of mine. Hopefully it helps you guys or inspires you to, do your own thing. If I can do it, you should be able to do it. Oh, sí, sí hablo español. También si tienes preguntas o quieres algo en español. I speak Spanish as well, and so you guys have some Spanish. I just prefer to read everything in English, if possible. Let's see. But yeah, I've been considering doing a Spanish a Spanish, I guess, stream, but I'm not sure how many people will actually be interested, or if it doesn't even matter, Oh, tattooing characters. Hola, hey, how's it going? Little cats and people, cool. So let's continue with this guy. Let's see if we can maybe give his little arms a little bit of a posing. So like I said, you want to move this, so if you hold Alt, you can move it however you want, but then that means you have to go to different angles and do all that, which is fine as well. One thing I tend to do, at least I click on the surface, and that way at least it brings it to the surface where I kind of want it. And then from there I could tweak it, give it a little more bend. We start giving him a little character, not too much, just enough so he doesn't look so kind of dummy, like he's just a stuffed dummy or something. So this is where that power of this stuff comes in. See, now we can move these guys forward. We could also rotate them if we wanted to, But I like the other pose where they're kind of maybe hanging more straight down. Maybe they're more in, more out. I would say probably more in. And if you don't like the pivot, you can also just hold Alt and then, like you can see all this stuff. Move it from a different distance. But that's kind of where we're at. So we're going to continue with that. Adjust these now that we move those hands. We need to bulk up his arms a little bit. So let's just do that a little bit more. So just thinking, I'm just thinking of a little bit of anatomy, more design, but more anatomy. So he really has really long arms. Most of the time your arms, or the back of your arms, connect to a little higher. So I'm kind of thinking about all that. Oh, thanks. Oh yeah, man. We'll really want to print this guy out and render him. Like do a little bit of both, right? A little rendering, a little bit of 3D print him. Maybe he collects eggs or something, or some kind of maybe collects. I'm thinking he probably collects some kind of worms or something in that realm. So let's continue on. Let's continue on his hunchback. Work on his shoulders. Yeah, but this hopefully should give you guys an insight of like designing and working on the fly, not being scared to make mistakes. Something doesn't work out, not a big deal, guys. You just gotta power through it. So right now we're trying to give him a little more bulk, so you separate the chest from the shoulders. I want to say look at nature, guys. Nature is your best friend. I know. So I collect insects. I like looking at bugs. I like looking at different animals. Let me see. So it's like some of the stuff that I'm looking at as well is like this type of stuff. because this is kind of stuff I want to implement into his body eventually. You know, like some of the fat folds that are really like dragging, maybe some of the texture. You know, some of the claws, like maybe he has this type of claw. So I think collecting reference is like super important. I was looking at this one too last night, just trying to think of different ideas, and I kind of want to give him a little bit of spikes, so he, since he's blind, maybe he feels all his stuff goes through feeling, right? Or he feels like a wind, or he feels something different in the atmosphere. So he uses those quills to kind of help him, I guess. But there was one other one. Let's see, where is it at? So that's the type of stuff I'm looking at to help me get inspired, you know. And the salamander was like a big one because I wanted him to be transparent, and maybe he has something that helps him on his face, on his head, but I want him to be very transparent. And that's kind of what I'm thinking of the final result, right? Overall, even something as cute as this, like how do these eyes work, you know? Like that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like he has eyes, but he's obviously closed. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about when I'm doing this. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight. Hey, what's up, Richard? Yeah, staying healthy, man. Trying to stay alive, right? Well, you just got to keep at it, man, Jimmy. You just gotta keep at it. Like, you know, you make a lot of mistakes, but you keep learning from those mistakes. So just keep pushing. And, you know, keep taking classes, keep learning from other artists, different ways of doing things. You know, that's what I would highly recommend. Like, look at different streams, check out different YouTubers, check out different tutorials. You know, it's all gonna kind of help you to see also different ways of doing things, because then you might not like one way or two ways, and then you find a third way. Let's see. Kind of imitation by nature, but you kind of want to just be inspired. You don't have to copy it. You just have to see also, like, what is it going to be doing? What is it for? You know, that type of stuff. You know. So right now we're going to continue on this lace. Just kind of wanted to answer some more questions from you guys. That's what we're here for, to help you with this stuff. Well, you probably have to ask the avatar people, the people that were working on the character design. What were they looking at? Why were they inspired by that? You know, like, it could be many different things. It could be instruments. It could be buildings, you know, architecture. Hey, how's it going, Motion Bug? I've been thinking about making tutorials, but I don't know, like, there's so many. I don't know if anything that I have to offer or at this moment will be super useful for you guys, or if you guys want to know more about it. I do a private tutor, but I could I have been thinking about making tutorials. I just haven't got around to it. But if there's something specific that you guys want to learn about, I could maybe make little chunk tutorials that are cheaper as well. Like, let's talk about design and forms, or let's talk about texturing, or let's talk about, you know, different case studies. Maybe make a series of different little things that kind of either connect together, or they're just individuals. If there's anything that you guys would like to check out, please let me know, because I'm here to help you guys. So. Well, making a self-portrait of yourself is actually one of those hardest things, because you have to be truthful if you want it to look like you. You know, sometimes you don't like the way your face looks, and I totally understand, because I haven't really, I thought about making my own face, but I don't like my own face, so I'd rather do somebody else's. It could be, if you have something that's not working, I would say check your intensity, right? That's number one. Check the scale. Intensity seems to be the best problem. Like, you see, like, if it's too intense, then it doesn't work. But if it's not intense enough, then you're moving little chunks. So I would say check your intensity. Hopefully that helps. Pavan. Oh, make other people. Oh, these things. look at, like, a lot of this stuff is inspired by insects, and just like I was showing, like a mole and that type of stuff, you know. And it's all about like this experimenting with forms. If you look at a lot of my streams, I'm just experimenting with different forms. You know, even this, I might do another version where like I try to implement some eyes or change the head around, you know, like maybe make this some kind of gills. Maybe he doesn't live above water. Maybe he lives underwater. But always keeping, you know, this stuff kind of truthful to as much as, I guess, nature or your inspiration as well. And then from there you give it your own, you know, flavor. So here I'm just kind of gonna make his, you know, kind of trying to layer things up. Doesn't have a six-pack because he doesn't work out. So let's continue on the lakes. So I want to see this guy in full form. So I don't want to, you know, sometimes when you're maybe studying and practicing, you might do a lot of bust, and I did that for a long time, you know, like my first few years, and that was cool. But then you want to explore to make full figures, and eventually if you want to work in production, you're gonna have to make the whole thing, right? So I think it's a good idea to experiment with that as early as possible. And if you're not good at any particular part of anatomy, practice those parts. Don't be scared of them. Attack them, because the more mileage you put in, the more you're gonna know more about them and do research and find things that work for you. If that makes any sense to you guys. And don't be scared to be sketchy with all this stuff, you know. And if you're not, you know, some things you're not sure about, it's okay. Look up reference, find some good reference to have and play around with. I think that's the main thing. Sometimes people don't look at reference, and yeah, sure, you'll come up with some original designs, but you really gotta base it on some bit of reality, you know. So since he's kind of twisting his arms this way, I kind of want more of the back of the bicep to be showing up, you know. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. If not, if he has his arms the other way, like unsupinated, then you see more of the bicep itself. So just sketching some of that stuff out, and then I'll kind of hit it a little bit with the smooth, just to kind of get rid of some of that detail, because it's not real detail. I'm just planning things out, you know. Let's see. I had problems with it, man. To be honest, I tried the studio. I tried many things, right? I have the iPad. I had Cintiq, the portable one. All of them have some kind of issue at some point, you know. But I would say the Surface had the worst, because the pen is not a Wacom pen, or at least at the time I tried it, it wasn't. So it was a little laggy. Also, if you don't have a lot of RAM, it's going to be pretty laggy. So I would suggest make sure you just try it out at the store, see how it feels compared to your regular workflow. To be honest, the iPad is pretty good. And if you're just sketching and then bringing it to ZBrush, I think that's a really good workflow. So I would recommend that. I've done that a lot. And it's probably cheaper and more purpose, but it all depends on what you need. What do you need it else to do? If you just need to do that, then maybe that might be good enough. But I have tried many things and spent a lot of money on many toys that didn't work out. So most skinny people, or most people, when muscles, that usually goes in a little bit. So I'm kind of just hinting at that. You know, or the muscles around them are a little bulkier, so we'll give them maybe a little bit more volume. But right now we're just sketching. We're just trying to make sure he looks at the same level and more in all places, you know. We spend some time on the hands. Now we're doing some legs, so let's continue on some legs. Maybe he has some skinny legs. Let's see. But that's what happens. So some of the reference that I'm also looking at is some of this stuff, you know, some stuff from Anatomy 360 or Scan Store. Just kind of looking at, just to make sure that my landmarks are in the ballpark, you know. Of course, this guy, there's no creatures that look like him, so you have to kind of interpret that yourself. I want to say it cannot. I think it's only Windows and Mac based, but you can probably check the website, see if there's any updates on that. So one thing we want to do here is I want to duplicate the legs, because I want his inside of his legs to be a little separate to give him a little more bulk, and then also we can work on his little butt. So a lot of this stuff is connecting to the pelvic bone, right? So we have a little bit of that. So we're just kind of blocking the primary forms of the leg, you know, and the connections. I'm not saying perfectly anatomy correct, but it's good enough for our needs. And we can also get it probably, so a lot of times I just either insert a sphere or get a new sphere, and then we're going to block out his little butt, little buttocks. Now you want to mirror it. Make sure you press X. I prefer the Maya one. I used to be a huge component of let's see, let's look at my butt reference. I used to be a huge fan of Topogun, but then I kind of just stopped using it after it never got updated, and then it finally did, and I don't use it anymore. So I usually just stick to Maya. Or if I'm doing something that requires auto retopology or quick test, I just do it here in ZBrush, just ZRemesh it. But yeah, I want it to have a little butt, little. Let me dynamesh this too. See if it's too high. And that's way too high, so let's do half, 64. That might still be high, but sorry guys. I was up late having fun sculpting. You know, just blocking some of that basic anatomy in. And it doesn't look like he does too many squats, so we're gonna not fully give him a full butt, but just a little bit of a hint of a butt, you know? Maybe he has like that saggy 60-year-old butt that just hangs. Hola. I don't know what 60-year-old butt looks like, but I could just imagine a little sagging butt. So there we go, we give him a little butt. It's maybe more at the top and kind of dies down at the bottom. Not a big deal. So I'm just kind of looking at this as reference, you know, just like blocking out some basic shapes, just to kind of hint at that. Yeah, you could see an alien butt or some kind of weird creature butt. And then we can also just, once we get to this got pretty sketchy, so we can just kind of smooth it and leave some hints. And we have to maybe work on a little bit of a spine, right? triangle. So his love handles, and then some. We have to get that scapula in there. I have to sketch. So one thing that I know I used to avoid, and you know I don't anymore. I just do it, even though it's not my favorite thing to do. Is that I start to just sketch the back the same as you're doing the front, because if not, you still have to go back to it and do it anyway. So, hey Kardashian, but yeah, he got some implants or something, huh? So here I'm just kind of sketching some stuff, you know, like muscles that I know kind of belong there, but just get in the habit of doing it. Don't hesitate. And if you don't know, look up the reference. You know, I don't know all this stuff all the time, or if I do, I did, or I don't remember, I just look it up. Like his lumbar support, that's usually never curvy. It's just pretty straight at the bottom. So I'm always thinking of all this stuff constantly and kind of refining as I'm going. How much practice do I recommend? It depends on the beginning. I would say every day try to do 15-20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever time you have. Anything will help you. See, like now I feel like the arms are too in, so we're gonna set that and then move them out a little bit, which means we have to do some tweaking here. Not a big deal. See, that gives them a little more room. So we'll just work on the shoulders a little bit too. Usually there's a bone in here, a little smaller than that. Kind of sticks out more, right? The other thing that's nice is that you could just do this and then just isolate it quickly, see where it's going. He also has to have some genitals, so we're gonna do a little bit of that. Because everything has to be accounted for, right? It's like, yeah, maybe you don't like doing those type of things, but you're gonna have to do them. Like doing 300, right? I had to look at tons of abs, men's abs, you know, all the time, because we had to refine them and make sure they were good. And that's something I just had to do. It's not my favorite thing to look at men's abs, but it's a reference, and you have to look at it and acknowledge it and figure out, like, why is it the way it is, or why is it specifically that way. Looks like you were having coffee. Yeah, me too, man. Getting up in the morning like, so tired. So let's dynamesh that again. Let's continue down. So yeah, sometimes I'll just keep sketching like this, and you know, like in this case, let's see, we continue doing this. See, those are his knees, right? Knees are actually longer, they're not just a circle, right? That's the knee shape. And then from there we can extrude a leg, or we can shape the leg around. Let's say, let's insert a leg. And I just, you know, import a sphere and just bring it in. We'll start with that as the trunk of the leg. Mirror that guy over. Make sure you press X so that you're updating both sides. Let's see. Yeah, well, I use reference in different ways, right? Like sometimes I'm looking for like the texture that I'm going to texture him with. Sometimes I'm looking at the surface detail. Sometimes I'm looking at anatomy. So it all depends how you're looking at all this reference, you know, like inspiration. Sometimes it's just like one thing I was looking at. Let's see. Like, okay, this guy, right? I was looking at this, but my character doesn't look anything like this. Right, so I'm just kind of looking at it for like, oh, maybe I could give him fat folds and some of this stuff that, you know, kind of inspired by this. but obviously it doesn't look like this. So sometimes, like you said, you don't have to copy the reference, you just have to be inspired. That's kind of what I use reference for. But I use it for checking things, not for copying things, if that makes any sense. So let's see, what do we want to do with these legs? I guess I want to put them outwards. So let's say he's that long. Maybe he has some skinny, really skinny legs. He doesn't work out. That's my main idea behind this. So from there we can, let's see, sketch out some, you know, sketching the back of the leg. You know, we know this has to bulk up a little bit. So both sides need to bulk up, but I want to do one at a time. You know, and it's really sketchy. So, and let's actually dynamesh it first. Let's go 48. We're gonna go a little lower on this guy, and then we do the other side. And this actually connects all the way to the top of that. Right, it actually comes into that. That's why it's important to block out the knee, because then you know where the connection starts, how high it goes, some of the angles, you know. And also like the bone in the front, you know. You have something like that. Right, and then you have bone kind of coming out. So you have to kind of keep looking at all the different angles. You can't just work in one angle. I know a lot of people just sometimes get stuck, and I used to do that when I was starting off, because all this stuff is multi-layered, multi-dimensional, you know. So dynamesh that, smooth it out a little bit, smooth out all the weird kinks. Oh, I don't know what that tool was, but that's not what I want. Hopefully the music is not too bad for you guys. Seems to be okay today for me. Make his little thighs a little bigger. Right. Let's extend these guys down. Then these muscles kind of go around that, so we'll block that out as well. I need to make his arms a little bulkier now that we're doing this stuff. You know, sometimes I just erase everything too. That happens as well. So let's save this, since we don't want to lose about an hour's work. Well, at least I don't want to. Let's see, it has to answer some questions. What are you main inspired? I look at nature, I look at my kids, I look at people's eyes, I look at everything, you know. Sometimes if something becomes too let's do some renders while we chat. Let's see this launch key shot. If you get bored of one thing, move on to something else, you know. Like sometimes once you feel like you've gotten a good grasp on, let's say you're modeling or sculpting, then concentrate on some rendering, concentrate on hair, fur, grooming, cloth. You know, like if there's accessories, like these guys are space aliens from the future, they have maybe specific armor, or if they're like an orc, what does that make? So kind of cycle around, you know, the different things that kind of inspire you, or what the characters are made of. I would say that's probably the best way. If you get uninspired by one part, like research something else. Research what armor looks like, samurai armor, warrior armor, different centuries armor, that type of stuff, you know. I think that's pretty useful. Alright, so let's kick out this guy to key shot just for a quick test render. I tend to do that at these early stages just to see what's looking good. If something's not reacting correctly to light, why is it that? Why is it not doing that, you know? This guy's scale is huge. For some reason it doesn't like my Maya setup, so or my Maya settings. So let's change the environment. Scale, where are you, scale? So first let's change the camera to, I want to say 85. I like 85 a lot. Let's see, settings, there we go. That's what I was like, where is it? Something with a little more contrast. Let's change that to a skin shader, kind of what I would want to do at the end. So they have a lot of these translucency shaders. And you can use the same shader for everything. So let's go here, assign it to the whole model. And this guy's scale is a little insane, so we're gonna change some parameters here to maybe, let's say 1. Maybe I'll leave it more than that. Let's do 10. There we go. Now we're getting, yeah, it doesn't like my settings, so try some of the other settings. Some of these interiors are pretty cool. Let's see, any questions? Yes. Well, it depends. Sometimes it's a lot of procedurals. If you're doing houses and that type of stuff, you know, you use the same texture over and over and just add variations of dirt and grime. So you can use a tileable texture. But now with Substance Painter and Mari, you can just pretty much do everything, copy the tiles over, you know, like when you project everything, just kind of project it and tile it there. Yeah, the music sounds pretty cool, right? It's actually inspiring today. Sometimes it's not that great since it's kind of free. Yeah, I prefer Maya for the topology, but I use Maya, ZBrush, Mudbox, VR, Oculus Medium, Marvelous Designer, Nuke, all other programs. Every program has its own little thing, you know. Yeah, he's kind of skinny fat. Like, it's like he worked out and all the fat didn't go away. So look at this. This is looking pretty good. I'm liking the overall form. It's feeling creepy. Maybe he has another set of arms. Maybe we could do some variations on the eyes where I was thinking of giving him eyes. This means maybe I feel like his thighs and his legs got too thick. So we might thin those out. You know, yeah, hopefully that helps, guys. You know, whatever questions you guys have. Kitty, I can't really read your name. It's like some weird color. It makes it hard to read. Sorry. Let's put the ground up as well. There we go. Now it feels more. He's at a photo shoot. Alright, so let's, now that we saw that, then maybe we need to go tweak those things. Another thing I like to add is, what does he look like if he was next to a human? So let's switch this and go to our comma, go to male. I think it's override, so I need to go to the tools. Because if you load the other one, it's going to change my project, and that's the last thing I want right now. So let's see, let's get rid of this. So now we added a human here. Where the human's at? Good question. There he is. He's a small little guy. I want to see what he looks like next to a person. Or if a person approached him, let's say his legs are around there. So we could see that he's maybe about 8 feet tall. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Or he could be smaller. But I'm thinking about 8 feet tall, so it makes him a little creepier. Let's see. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, Kevin. No, I'll do most of that texturing, most of the details at the end. Right now, we're just kind of blocking out ideas. So that's one thing you should think about. This is not a detail stage. I have some details here and there, you know, like in the face feels a little more detailed, but if you look at it, everything's blurry. There's actually no detail there. So, which brings it back to, let's put some teeth on him and maybe some eyes. Thanks for the reminder. So my little sketch, I had some teeth. If you look at this sketch, he had some little tiny teeth, and I think I want to keep those, and also kind of this shape of a nose. So I might have to refine that, and that's kind of what I want to start working on now, since we kind of did a little bit more body work, and we'll go back to the body work eventually. But right now, let's work on some tiny teeth. See, the music was good. Now it's no good again. Let me change that. This is some free music from this Pretzel Rocks station. This thing here. So if you guys want to use this free royalty-free music for streamers or whatever, so it seems pretty cool. I usually go with Epic music, or if not, ambient, in case you guys are. Let's see, where is Epic? There we go. I guess we're already on Epic, so maybe let's go just to ambient. Probably passed it up. Definitely not emo. We're not trying to do any emo right now. There we go, ambient. I guess it was almost the first one. But yeah, I mostly would do a lot of this stuff at a detail level, you know, on the scoped and part of the also the what is it called? Sorry, I'm just thinking while trying to sketch, and it's a little distracting. It depends on the combination, right? Some detail comes from some detail would come from your texture. Some detail will come from the sculpture, like when you look at it gray mode. You know, if it's poor detail, I would definitely like to add it on here, all those wrinkles. So it really all depends, I guess, on your. So I'm just making some generic teeth for now. Nothing fancy. Just blocking out where I think teeth would go. Let's mirror those guys too. And eventually some of this mirror stuff would, you know, you'll start breaking up and adding asymmetry. Happy fly, human fly, yes. And then what you could do is just duplicate it and then give him some canines, you know, like maybe his canines are a little more crooked and a little sharper. That's where we could use our friend the snake hook. right? So I feel like he has to have like an underbite. That's kind of what I'm going for. So from here you could either duplicate this again and just shift it around. You know, change some stuff up around. Maybe it's not as sharp. You know, we'll give him some more front teeth as well. Maybe they get smaller and thinner, kind of like he wants a human skull, right? Like maybe let's adjust these guys a little bit, where like they're bulky on top, but then get a little skinny and kind of. So you got to think about the horseshoe, right? Like most people have like a horseshoe or horseshoe shape or U shape for like the gums. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So that's the kind of offset I'm doing for some of these guys. So let's say we're good with that, right? So let's look at what we had before. So let's move this guy to the side. So I have some little sharp teeth, and I kind of have some more stuff going on. So we can kind of just emulate a little bit of that and start. And also had another layer, I guess, here underneath. So we can either project that detail, but obviously it wasn't really details, more of just sketching. So we're gonna kind of add a little more resolution on here, because obviously it's kind of too low res. It's at 172, so it's really low. Then we can also split the head out later. So let's go 128. See if that gives us what we want. Yeah, 128 seems to be okay. Let's try that. So he had a little bit of a lip, so let's continue that. And so one thing I like doing is, this is where I was missing on the other program, or the free version of ZBrush. So I didn't have this masking tool, and oh man, I missed it. It's just part of the way I work, but so it's kind of the gum section. You probably need a little more resolution, but I want to do some more sketching first before we up-res any of this. And I kind of like this other little sack thing he had going on here. This part here, like it's like an extra layer of fat or just loose skin. So we're gonna add a little bit more volume in there. Continue that breakup, and also since this sack is kind of hanging from the brow, there should be some gappage, a little bit of a gappage going on there, or I guess not gappage, but bridging. So maybe there's a little bit of a pull there. So we're just kind of going with the flow, seeing what we can kind of break away from here anatomy wise, and you know, maybe he has bigger cheekbones at some point to hold the sack up. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to. So let's move this guy back, hide him, because now that we don't really need him, we're gonna work on this face. So maybe there's a bridging there, bridging in the back, and then there's like some gaps of the tension part. That's kind of what we're gonna bridge here. Yeah, I like that. So that way it feels like there's some pull there. Some pull back here. Thinking like a water balloon kind of hanging. Let's see where we're at. Okay, we still have a little bit of time. So what do you guys think so far? Does this help you? Help you guys? So sometimes I also sketch out forms that I'm thinking of. They could potentially be cool forms. Like here, I'm just kind of thinking of the temporalis. Like, what would his temporalis be like? You know, like would it be showing the part of the skull up here, the ridge? So I think that might help. Because it just felt too plain there and like bowly, like there's no skull structure. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of adding. Let's see. A few more questions. Let's see. Any creatures on my wish list? Labrium. Yes, maybe give him a little bit of a Labrium. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, actually, it could be a female. It doesn't have to be a male. So yeah, it could be part of a Labrium coming down. But we're trying to make him a cool creature. It's scary. No, not really. Like I admire a lot of creatures. It's just sometimes I tend to mostly do original stuff just because I feel like if it was already done, like Pumpkinhead's one that I really like. But I don't know. Maybe one day I'll do a sculpture of him. But I'd rather come up with my own version of Pumpkinhead if that makes any sense. Yes. But actually, that's a good idea. You know, it could maybe his chest could have something like that. Maybe something comes out of his chest. I don't know. It's all possible, right? If you look at the alien, they're very phallic shapes. Yeah, we continue that going down here. You know. So right now we're just kind of sketching forms and seeing what's going to stick. But yeah, let's continue with this part of the skull, because I think this part of the skull needs some work. So he needs to have some kind of ear, so I think his ear is going to be over here. I don't mean like a human ear, I just mean like and if something becomes too bright, you just smooth it out and blend it out. See where it goes. What is it looking like? So here I'm just trying to figure out which direction all these folds are going to be going eventually. And if he has extra folds, or what are those extra? Look at him from all different angles. His forehead needs to be a little wider. I think on the other version I had wrinkles there. So maybe we'll keep some of those wrinkles. Or kind of hint at them. Also break up this form to a couple different shapes. That's like layered fat kind of on itself. Let's see. Oh, it depends if what kind of category of job employment you're looking for. You're looking for like a generalist, you're looking for a creature guy, you're looking for very specific person that can do specific things, you know, such as like it's an anatomy expert or a skin expert, that type of stuff. So it varies, but for modeling, making sure that your topology is nice and clean, making sure like you have some solid understanding of how the world works, like anatomy for different animals, for people, for vehicles, for everything, because everything has some sort of anatomy of how it works. So making sure that you know how that all kind of works together. So here I'm just trying to find the rhythm of all this stuff. You know, I'm also thinking of like people's fat folds or not just people, but look, those moles that I was looking at earlier. Well, you know, if people saw what I was doing during high school, people would probably be like, this guy's going to be a serial killer. Looking at some of my sketches, I had like weird sketches as well. And you know, it happens. It's just things that sometimes are in your head that you need to just sketch out and put them on paper. So here I'm just trying to give a little more dimension to some of these lines that I was sketching out, so they feel like they're fat folds that are building on themselves. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So I want to add some volume here for, let's say, like this thing. It's holding this giant form. So I kind of want that to be kind of like I guess the pivot point. Shaniqua, how's it going? So you have all these shapes that we're breaking up into more individual shapes. Make them a little more organic. I feel like we need something in the back of the head. A little more skull structure. Sometimes I'll just go ahead and clean it up, erase everything, and then from there just kind of move things around. I'm pretty happy with that. It's looking kind of cool. What do you guys think? Good, Tristan, how's it going? I would say if you try and do some more minimalist stuff, maybe ZBrush is not your main thing. Maybe try like Maya or Blender, unless you need to sculpt some real high-res detail. Yeah, there is a way to test ZBrush. So you could download the free version, the ZBrush Core, and that's a more minimalist version, but it works pretty well. Alright, let's test this out in, well, first let's save it. But let's test out some test renders on this and see where it goes. I feel like it's starting to look pretty cool. Alright, so let's unpause our render. Let's swap this guy out. That crashed? Nope. Just disappeared. So let's add the same shader to everything else in the scene. So right now we're just pretending that this guy's made of clay. He's kind of our maquette. So we want to see everything in the same shader. Yeah, this guy's heading in the right direction. What do you guys think? Let's work on his ear a little more. I think if you're going to do any sculpting, ZBrush is definitely your guy. Yeah, it's an interesting shape, right? But I'm thinking of the big mole. Or big, yeah, I need to make his legs smaller. Just a little thinner so he doesn't feel like he has an advantage. He can run after you. Maybe he's slow, but he can reach out to you and scratch your face or something. Cool. I think this is going the right way, so let's continue on. So one thing we can do now is still keep all this stuff separate, is start combining this stuff. So one thing I like doing is moving everything either to the top or the bottom of the list. Like select all this so you don't actually merge anything that hasn't been labeled. You could label it, I'm just too lazy. We got that, we got the knee, we got the lower leg. Oh, no way. So this is, what is this? It's teeth. Okay, so we've merged here. And we're going to make sure we keep the, when we dynamesh, we keep groups on. So let's merge first. So now we have just legs. Right, so we want to bring those legs and make them a little smaller. But we also want to make sure Dynamesh has groups on so we don't accidentally merge any of this stuff that we're still working on. Multiplayer, yes, then we could all sketch together, right? That would be cool. Yeah, ZBrush Core, ZBrush Mini is it's a good option. And that's what we started this creature in. So that's why, if you see, you could do a lot of capable stuff for free and try it out. And then if you decide to upgrade, then it's awesome. Like I would highly suggest the upgrade. But if you're just trying it out, I would say just give it a whirl. Yeah, that's gonna definitely change them. I think I like the little legs better. This guy needs to go higher. So maybe he's not as tall. It feels much better. Long arms, short legs. We need to block out some feet for him too. So let's just get a pin our friend. Let's do a cube. I like to do cubes and for hands and for feet. Just as a beginning step. So let's get rid of our human. We don't need our human there. Let's see. Yeah, multiplayer. Well, you know, like there's like applications like the Adobe Medium has a not multiplayer, but you know, you can invite somebody to sculpt with you, and you guys could be in the same environment. You could be seeing their stuff, and they could be seeing your stuff. And maybe talk about, hey, maybe you should try this, try that. That could be a really cool thing. I think. Not sure if you guys use Medium, but I do from time to time. Not all the time because. So I like using this move infinite because then if I start to move this stuff, it's doing it to the whole thing and not just to the edge that I'm seeing. Yeah, rectangles seem to be pretty good, right? They help. At least they help me visualize things as well. Taper it a little bit, right? Give it a little. Shaping. So right now this is not Dynamesh, so let's go to 48. Dynamesh that out. So one thing I like doing is smoothing, and then that gives it a little bit of a taper. Gets rid of that hard edge. We can also start working on, I guess, toes, you know, like those toes will also be lower and separated. I don't know what kind of feet he's gonna have yet, but we're just kind of blocking something out. They're probably huge. Probably wears like a size 17 shoe. Shack status. But of course, it's not about that. It's just about seeing how he looks with some feet. So now that we know that these are too big, let's go in here, shrink them down a little bit. Because remember, guys, we're just blocking stuff out. We just want to see what this guy's gonna look like overall. Let's adjust that knee. That knee's annoying me. Should be sticking out. It was just annoying me that it was sticking out in a weird way, like perfectly straight up and down. So maybe now he does have a little bit of a bigger thigh. Maybe we'll have to adjust this pelvic bone and all that later. But yeah, so let's see now. That feels much better. Proportions. It's a weird ratio, but I like it. I think it's working. Yeah, I want to rewatch The Fly. I haven't seen that movie in ages. It used to be one of my favorite movies of all time. I used to watch it. I used to be creeped out by it, but I used to love watching it. Just like The Exorcist, I used to be scared of it, and then watch it many years later, and then I think it's kind of funny. It's not even scary at all. But it was scary at one time. See, so now we got pretty dense that it makes it hard to adjust and everything else. So maybe this is where we start cutting the head off. to work on it, because now any major adjustment, it's not very smooth, you know. We probably need to lift his butt up a little bit too. See, it's like, well, thinking where this is going. What do you guys think? A little thicker wrist. Little pudgy guy. Let's save this. I kind of like where it's going, and then we're gonna try some other stuff. See, what else can we try? Or what else would you guys like to see? So I'm thinking he's going to be more leaning forward, more hunchback. His arms are going to be almost touching the ground. So let's see. Maybe his feet are turning inwards. Yeah, I kind of like that more. Maybe his knees have to be turning inwards as well. It's more topological so we don't screw things up. Yeah, that makes him feel a little more clumsy and not so athletic or whatever. I think I like that. So what have you guys been working on? Do you guys have anything you guys want to share? Anything cool? I was like watching other people's work and sometimes giving critiques if you guys are up for that too. So a lot of stuff kind of runs all the way down, you know, connects to the next muscle. So I'm just trying to make some of those connections happen. I like this music. Feels like a little bit of a Stranger Things going on, right? Let's make those ankles too. Let's do some more appending. Those wrists and those ankles need to be a little thicker. You know, they're usually a lot thicker than what you think. Let's see. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, if you guys have yeah, you guys can post a link on there. I'd love to check out your stuff. So remember, all this stuff is simple shapes, guys. Like nothing They're just simple shapes that just happen to all mix together. Once we fuse them together, it'll work. Oh, hit the wrong button. Sorry, guys. I meant to hit mirror, but for some reason it hit something else. That looks much better. Let's maybe use the same thing. We just, instead of inserting a new one, we'll just duplicate that one over and move it up to the wrist. And then adjust it from there. Alright, let's work on some back legs. No part is not important. Everything is important, guys. Let's see. Alright, cool. We got some links. Awesome. We'll post that up right now. So how do you fuse them all together, right? So that's a good question. So let's move this guy up. We don't want to fuse him. We don't want to fuse any of this stuff. So we want to fuse from the arms down. First, let's save. Bad things can happen, so it's always good to just save. So let's say you have all this stuff, right? And you're like, I'm done. I like it. It's all good. That's good. Just remesh it and then retopologize it and do all the detail work, right? So we're gonna fuse all the body parts together. Maybe we should get rid of the teeth too. The teeth need to be separate for now. Let me just move those up. So I'm just moving these up so I don't accidentally merge. When I'm merging down, I don't accidentally merge everything. Alright, so it looks like we're good. So anything below this line we can merge. So right now they're all separate, right? So I like to turn this on. Turn the wire off so you can see the different colors. So we can start merging, right? So let's merge down. As you can see, it's starting to merge everything in, right? And then we turn this on. Kind of different resolutions, right? We want to keep those resolutions. We don't want any of this stuff to merge. We want to keep it all together. So let's duplicate this. Shift it over. Nope. Turn off symmetry. Shift it over, right? So right now this is all still separate pieces, but we want to fuse it together, right? So we want to give it a little more resolution. Without groups, if we fuse it together, now it's all one piece. Well, it should be one piece. So if we're to smooth this out, no, I didn't fuse them together. Did it? Let's try that again. Sorry. So let's go a little lower so it's more visible. So now we fuse this all together. You see how now none of this stuff is separate. right? Much easier to see on this lower resolution version of it. But let's say you're not done designing it, or you're done tweaking it. So let's say you want to Dynamesh and you need to get more resolution into it. So you need to make sure you turn on groups, add your resolution. It takes a little bit of time because now there's a lot more pieces. Give it a minute. So now it's fused together, right? So it's still all separate pieces. You have more resolution. You can always turn the resolution down or up, but none of this stuff is fused together because of the groups, or it should not be, unless they were the exact same polygroups. But in this case, let's say the wrist part, right? See how it's not fusing together? Like it's smoothing, but it's not fusing together because all these pieces are all separate still. So that's the way I will work. I will continue to work if I needed to. But I like the resolution I had it in, so I'm gonna try to go back to that. Hopefully that makes sense. That makes sense. And then from there you can ZBrush it. So like let's say now like this one's all one piece. So we can go to geometry. Now that we're all happy with it, ZBrush it. And it'll take a second. Yes, he is cute. Not sure if he's a troll, but he's some kind of weird creature. It's all because we have so much resolution, so many pieces. It's trying to figure out what to do. Let's see. Let's give it a second, then we can see the wire before and after. So there we go. So now it's all one piece, clean mesh, and you still have all your forms. I would probably go a little higher than this, but this is, you know, you can always smooth this. You can always smooth it and start getting in and project all the detail from the other one and erase, choose to erase where you want to. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll let me put some more links up before we leave, in case you guys want to follow me or any of that type of stuff. Or so here we go, and make sure you guys follow me on my social media. You can do Twitter or Instagram, but much appreciated. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff and got some cool insight into some of this stuff. Hey Virgil, thanks man. Yeah, this is kind of the workflow overall if you were going to do this part. So let me and that also helps reduce pieces, so it's also good. So let me delete this, and now we have our working guy with multiple resolutions and everything still fused separately. So what happened here is that you see the lower legs are a different color, but the inside thigh, since I just duplicated that, it doesn't want to separate, right? But there's an easy fix for that. So let's see. I think if you just do auto grouping, that changes the group, so now we can have those separate. So you can see now it's a different color, where before it was the same color, so when I fuse it, it thinks it's part of the same group. So when it's fusing together, it just fuses everything. Let's see. Oh yeah, you're welcome guys. Appreciate the follow. Awesome guys. So with that, I guess we're gonna wrap it up here for this week, and then we'll continue on this guy, because I really want to finish him and print him and pose, you know, kind of pose him in a cool pose. So yeah, we'll continue on this guy. At least he's now completely all blocked out. We could start doing more detail. You know, get on his face, or do some more detail on his face, his back. Gotta add some quills and some, you know, different things back here. So we'll see where it goes. But awesome guys, appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time. Yeah, take care. See you. Bye. Hi, VPT Studios. Yeah, I'm just about to log off. Sorry. But you can check out the recording right. It'll be ready right after this, so feel free to check that out. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an Instagram message or Twitter message or something, and I'll reply there. But thanks. I'm glad you had fun, man. That's what it's all about, right? Having fun and being creative. So hopefully I helped you achieve both. Alright guys, see you. Take care.